Right, so we've seen the MCQs in the MTP1 for September 25. In this particular video, we'll look into the MCQs which are there in the MTP series 2 for the September 25. Okay, right, so let's begin. Right, so the first one, it says write the most appropriate answer to each of the MCQ and you get 2 marks. Generally when you write 2.5 pages also you don't get 2 marks. Here you just tick the correct A, B, C, D, circle the correct A, B, C, D and you get 2 marks over there. Okay, right. So Suraj reported under clause 3A3 of Master Direction NBFC Report Directions 2016 that Alpha Limited is not eligible to hold its certificate of registration under section 45IA of the RBI Act as during the year the net owned funds went below the minimum required limit. Management of the NBFC had a different opinion that a certificate pertaining to the net owned funds from the statutory auditor is required with reference to the position of the company as at 31st March and not based on each month's position. Kindly guide Mr. Suraj with respect to the requirement under the master direction. Right, so the net owned funds position is to be evaluated as on 31st of March. Okay, so every NBFC shall submit a certificate from its statutory auditor that it is eligible to hold a certificate of registration from the RBS under section 45IA of the RBI Act, and such a certificate should be with reference to the position of the company throughout the financial year. So it is not throughout the financial year. Every NBFC shall submit a certificate from the statutory auditor. Such a certificate should be with reference to the position of the company as at 31st March. Okay. Only NBFC microfinance institution shall submit a certificate from the statutory auditor. No. And every NBFC shall submit a certificate from the statutory auditor that it is eligible to hold a certificate of registration. Such a certificate should be with reference to the position of the company as at the end of each month. So it is not as at the end of each month, is it as the position as on 31st of March. Okay, right, coming to the next one. Navya and Associates are the statutory auditors of MNO Limited for 25. While conducting the audit, CA NAMI, the engagement partner, noticed the following. Investigations by regulatory organization and government departments or payments of fines or penalty, payment for unspecified services or loans to consultants, related parties, employees or government employees, unusual payments in cash, purchases in the form of cashier's check payable to bearer or transfer to number of bank accounts, unusual payment towards legal retainership fees, unusual transactions with companies registered in tax haven, payments without exchange control, proper exchange control documentation. So everywhere mainly what is coming is the payment, and what we study in SE 250 that these are the indications of the non-compliance. Okay, CA NAMI should consider the above as indicative of doubt on accounting system, doubt on internal control, doubt on going concern, doubt on the non-compliance to the laws by MNO Limited. Okay, DPT Limited had an NPA account of Sahil and Sons showing recoverable amount of 40 lakh in the accounts. It sold the NPA for 45 lakh. Please select as to which of the following option is the correct accounting. Right, so sale purchase of NPA. So what was the value of the NPA? 40 lakh. It has been sold at 45 lakh. Okay, let the amount remain in Sahil and Son account. No, it says the amount it has to be removed from the books of account on sale. Credit the excess of 5 lakh to profit on sale of assets. Credit the excess 5 lakh to provision on loss of sale of other NPAs and return 5 lakh to the party purchasing the NPA. So you don't return 5 lakh to the party purchasing the NPA. Right, so what do we say? Any loss is to be immediately recognized, and profit, it says it should not be recognized but it should be used for the loss on sale of the other NPAs, and any excess provision should also not be reversed. Okay, here in the institute suggested guidelines they've given the answer as B, that credit the excess of 5 lakh to profit on sale of assets. Right, so they've made a profit on sale of NPA, but I don't completely agree. So 97% of the time, like reasonable assurance, we do agree with the answers of ICAR, but here I think credit the excess of 5 lakh to provision for loss on sale of other NPAs, but that word other is not there over there, because the loss on sale of other NPAs, it is to be used for that, the profit which you have made. Right, so as per institute study material it is B, but what I think that what could be the more correct answer would be the C. Right, so probably in this type of a situation B or C both would be the correct answers. Okay, but I always give a disclaimer. The moment out of 500 MCQs, if one such MCQ comes where there is like a possibility that 2 options are there, students, what they start doing, every second MCQ they start thinking no, institute is only wrong, there should be 2 options. So you don't go by that assumption. You never should go. You will make your life miserable in that case. You have to know that 97, 99% of the time it is the one option only which is correct. So, it's a very risky area for me as a faculty to say that, B or C, any one of them. Because then accordingly the conditioning of your mind changes. So, don't do that. Okay, but here, yeah, genuinely, I think that there should be a different answer over here. That is why I have made a mention for the same. Okay, but don't make it regular. Okay, case scenario MCQ 4 to 7. Supriya is a practicing chartered accountant and partner in SPR Associates, a CA firm engaged in various assignments across audit, advisory, compliance, and management consultancy for clients in banking, education, cooperative, and public sectors. Recently, the firm received the following engagement request. Supriya, who is the statutory auditor of one of her major clients, Cozy Textiles Limited, has been requested by the management to assist in compilation of financial information into proper format for presentation to prospective investors in accordance with 4410. Can statutory auditor do compilation engagement? No. She was approached by a hospitality chain for conducting a mystery audit at their 17 branches to evaluate service quality and compliance with SOPs for fee of 85,000. So recent decisions of ethical standard board. Can CA do mystery audit? Yes. Supriya holds the position of Director Simpliciter and Fair Private Limited. The company is now requesting her to digitally sign the ROC forms due to her professional qualification. No. Again, recent decisions of the Ethical Standard Board, where you are the Director Simpliciter, you cannot sign the ROC forms. Additionally, to expand her practice, she is planning to use a messaging application to inform business groups about her firm services and highlight the specialized areas and expertise. So amounts to solicitation, amounts to advertisement, not allowed. Okay, which of the following is correct with regard to CA Supriya approached by hospitality client for conducting mystery audit? She cannot accept the assignment as it falls outside the scope of audit services. So generally what logically we say, she can, she cannot. So we select A as the option. Okay, right, so she can accept the assignment since mystery audit is a permitted service. She can accept the assignment only if the client is not an existing audit client. She can accept the assignment only if it is approved by ICAI in writing. Kuch bhi. Is not an existing audit client? No, since mystery audit is a permitted service. Okay, what should CA Supriya do in case of Cozy Textiles Limited? Accept the assignment as compilation is not an assurance service, but she is statutory auditor. Decline the assignment as auditors cannot perform compilation engagement for audit client under 4410. Accept the engagement after disclosing in the audit report. Accept the engagement if permitted by audit committee. Right, so accept the engagement after disclosing in the report if permitted by audit committee, not an assurance engagement. No, decline the assignment. Can CA Supriya digitally sign the ROC forms for Fair Private Limited? Yes, she may sign since she is a qualified chartered accountant. She may sign if she does not receive any remuneration. Yes, she may sign if she is not the auditor of the company, and no, she cannot sign as it creates a conflict with the auditor's role. Right, so today after we complete with this particular MCQs, you're going to study the entire list of the recent decisions of the Ethical Standard Board. It's a treasure from where the MCQs and questions come in the theory part of the paper. Okay, does CA Supriya is correct in using a messaging application? Yes, it is permitted as long as the recipients are known contacts. Yes, it is permissible with a disclaimer. No, it is not permissible as it amounts to solicitation. Yes, it is permissible only if only educational content is shared. No, it is not permissible as it amounts to solicitation. Okay, case scenario 2, MCQ 8 to 12. While auditing consolidated financial statements of Kisan Industries Limited for 25, a manufacturing company whose financial statements are required to be prepared in accordance with Division 2 of Schedule 3 to the Companies Act, Karthik notices that the notes to account in respect of the CFS disclose additional information pertaining to the holding company and its subsidiaries. It provides the disclosures regarding percentages of the consolidated net assets, consolidated profit and loss, total comprehensive income, along with their respective amounts pertaining to holding company and subsidiaries. The financial statements of one foreign subsidiary included in the CFS are drawn up to 31st of December, so different year ending dates, in accordance with the legal requirement in US. He feels it to be weird and is of the view that CFS of group could present a distorted picture. The management in turn informs him that it is not practicable to draw the financial statements of foreign subsidiary to 31st March. During the year 24-25, goodwill of 60 crore had arisen on account of the acquisition of a subsidiary during the year, and there is no impairment loss as on the balance sheet date. Besides, adjustments have been made in the CFS with respect to intra-group indebtedness, those related to harmonizing different accounting policies being adopted by the parent and the subsidiaries. It is noticed by him that one subsidiary was acquired on 21st of June 24. He is in a dilemma as regards to the correctness of the consolidation of the financial statements and group financial statements. Besides, he is also in the process of finalizing audit report, including matters to be reported under CARO in respect of CFS. However, he is in a fix in respect of the matters of manner of reporting under CARO 2020 related to consolidated financial statements. Right, so entire case scenario regarding the group audit chapter. Now, based on the above facts, answer the following. Considering disclosure of additional information in CFS as stated in para A of the case study, which of the following statement is correct? The said disclosure is not proper as percentage of OCI along with respective amount pertaining to holding and subsidiary is also required. The said disclosure is not proper as percentage of consolidated revenue from operation along with the respective amount pertaining to holding and subsidiary is required. Said disclosure is not proper as percentage of consolidated revenue from operations as well as the OCI, right, income OCI along with their respective amounts pertaining to holding and subsidiaries required. The said disclosure is proper. Okay, right, so let us look at the disclosure. What does it say? Consolidated financial statements disclose additional information. It provides the disclosures regarding percentage of consolidated net assets, consolidated profit and loss, total OCI along with their respective amount pertaining to holding company and the subsidiary. So it is showing net assets, consolidated profit and loss and the total OCI, but what is not shown is the consolidated revenue. And regarding percentages of the consolidated net asset, consolidated profit and loss and the total comprehensive income along with their respective amounts. So percentage and the respective amount, but what is not given is the revenue is not given. So the said disclosure is not proper as percentage of OCI along with respective amount. So not percentage of other OCI. Said disclosure is not proper as percentage of consolidated revenue from operations along with respective amount. Said disclosure is proper? No, it is not proper. Okay, first option regarding OCI only, no. So now regarding the consolidated revenue is not proper as percentage of consolidated revenue from operation and percentage of consolidated revenue from operations as well as OCI. So OCI is not required to be given, only percentage of the consolidated revenue from the operations. Okay, right. What should be the auditor's proper course of action pursuant to the situation highlighted in para B related to financial statements of a foreign subsidiary in a different year ending date? Auditor should insist for drawing the financial statements of foreign subsidiary up to 25. The reason for impracticability is a mere excuse. In case of failure to redraw, he can modify the opinion as per 705. Auditor can accept the management's version. Auditor should modify his opinion by quantifying the financial effects of such inconsistency. Auditor can accept management's version. However, it is his duty to verify adjustments made for effect of the significant transactions or events occurring between 1st January and 31st of March. Okay, which of the following statement is correct in respect of goodwill and other matters described in the case scenario? Goodwill represents current period consolidation adjustments. No. Goodwill represents permanent consolidation adjustments, adjustments pertaining to intra-group indebtedness and those relating to harmonizing different accounting policies are the current period consolidation adjustments. Adjustments related to goodwill, intra-group indebtedness, harmonization of accounting policy, all are current period consolidation adjustments. No. And goodwill and adjustments relating to harmonization of accounting policies are permanent consolidation adjustments, whereas intra-group indebtedness is current period. No. Only goodwill is the permanent consolidation adjustment. Intra-group indebtedness and harmonization of accounting policies are the current period consolidation adjustments. So the correct option is B. Okay, coming to the next one. Which of the following statement is most appropriate regarding consolidation of financial statements of a subsidiary acquired on 21st of June 2024? Auditor should verify that income expense are included in the CFS for the complete financial year. Not possible. From the date you acquired the control. Auditor should verify that income expense of the subsidiary are included in the consolidated financial statements from the date it gains control of the subsidiary, and further such income and expense are based on the amount of the assets and liabilities recognized in CFS at the preceding reporting date. Now, why they got preceding reporting date over there? No. Auditor should verify that income expense of the subsidiary are included in the CFS for the complete financial year. No. The auditor should verify that income expense of the subsidiary are included in the CFS from the date it gains control of the subsidiary, and further such income expense are based on the amounts of the assets and liabilities recognized in the CFS at the acquisition date. So not preceding reporting date, the acquisition date. Okay, as regards the reporting under CARO 2020 in respect of CFS, which of the following is in accordance with requirement of law? Right, for CFS, only clause 21 of CARO is applicable. A separate report providing clause by clause reporting under CARO in respect of the is required in respect of specified matters pertaining to parent and all subsidiaries incorporated in India. It should be sufficient if report under CARO in respect of standalone is supplemented with additional information in respect of all subsidiaries incorporated in India. A separate report under CARO in respect of all subsidiaries is required. It should be annexed with the report under CARO in respect of the standalone. And reporting of details of subsidiaries together with the paragraph number of the report under CARO 2020 of auditors of such companies incorporated in India containing qualifications or adverse remarks would serve the purpose, right? So if you studied clause 21 of CARO, you'll remember, okay, in case for the company which is preparing consolidated financial statements, the details of the company along with their subsidiary and the paragraph number of the CARO containing the qualification or the adverse remarks, right? So that is why D is the correct option. Okay, case scenario 3. ADM and Associates, a medium-sized audit firm, has recently been appointed as statutory auditor of Moonic Limited, a listed pharmaceutical company involved in complex global operation and intensive R&D activity. The audit is being led by Rajul, an engagement partner. The company was previously audited by a Big Four firm which withdrew citing limitations in the audit scope. During planning, CA Rajul observed that while her team has good experience with standard manufacturing audit, they lack exposure to pharmaceutical sector audits, especially in relation to R&D accounting and global regulatory requirement. Despite this concern, the managing partner insisted that the team follow their standard procedure to ensure the audit is completed on time, especially due to the company's obligations under the listing regulation. CA Rajul is concerned about whether the firm possesses the competence, the capability to deliver a high quality audit in line with the professional standards. Based on the above facts, answer the following. As per SKC 1, what is the most appropriate course for CA Rajul to take after assessing that our audit team lacks experience in pharma R&D? Right, so it says, engagement performance for difficult contentious matters, you can take the consultation. Okay, so proceed with the audit using standard checklist and procedure, raise a concern internally and consider involving external experts or specialists, ignore the concern as the client expects timely reporting, delegate responsibility to junior staff familiar with the manufacturing audit. Right, so it says standard checklist, ignore, delegate responsibility to junior staff, no, raise a concern internally and consider involving the external experts or specialists. Okay, the fact that the previous Big Four auditor resigned due to scope limitation should prompt which of the following action by ADM and Associates? Assume the limitations are resolved as the client appointed a new auditor. We never assume anything. Proceed after understanding the nature of scope limitations and documenting the evaluation. Consider it irrelevant since resignation is a common occurrence. No, we ignore this point. This point is irrelevant. Use the previous auditor's work to complete current year audit. No. So proceed after understanding the nature of scope limitations and documenting the evaluation. Okay, and under SA 220, what is Rajul's responsibility as the engagement partner regarding audit quality? To ensure only documentation is maintained, to ensure appropriate DSR of the audit work, to delegate all key decisions to audit manager, to report only to audit committee, to ensure only documentation is maintained, only nothing, to ensure appropriate DSR of the audit work. Okay, right, so that's the discussion of the MCQs which are there in the MTP2 for the September 25 exams, right? So they'll ask one question regarding NBFC, then the indications of non-compliance, then regarding the sale purchase of NPA, then after that there is the question regarding the mystery audit, right? So then statutory auditor compilation engagement, then sign the ROC forms, then solicitation over there, then after that the entire discussion regarding the group audit, and then after group audit we have the SPC1 consultation, scope limitation, and also the proper DSR. Right, so signing off, Aarti Lahoti.